Okay, so I was asked to give this talk a few minutes before we started tonight, so I apologize for the lack of memes and jokes that I could only find and put in very quickly, but on the positive side, this is only a 15 or so slide PowerPoint, so it's not too painful. Talk is about canary tokens, but first, about me. I've done lots of cons, and all the stuff you're probably already reading up there on the screen. This is the disclaimer that you can't read because it's purposely made too small. Basically, I'm not a lawyer, and all that good stuff. Wikipedia, all good talks seem to have a Wikipedia entry or reference, so here is mine. And this is a pretty good one from Albert Einstein. Everyone's read it anyhow. So, why do we want to do this? To stop him. Actually, he's a former coworker who's a good friend, and I have told him every talk I ever give will have a picture of him in it somehow. Okay, so what is a canary? So it could be the canary that's in the coal mine, which is a concept that they had. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any good mob canaries that were PG enough to put into this to say that it's not that type of canary. These canaries you want to squeal. Basically, it's a token, and when it's on the network, if it's kind of like a honeypot, but it's not a honeypot because somebody has to actually touch this before it fires. Thinks makes canarytokens.org, which is a free site. You go there, as I'll walk through, and you get, basically it's, well, I'll walk you through it and I'll explain more, I guess. So on the generate screen, you go through, you select a token. They have a bunch of different choices. You pick one. I picked the Windows folder in this case. You fill out your email. You give it notes. The notes are kind of important because if you're going to make a few dozen of these, you want to know where you've put them in your network. This is a Windows folder. So it's going to generate a Windows folder that you are going to place. There you go. You open up, you put it on your drive somewhere. And when you open it up or browse to the directory that it's in, because of the preview settings, it tends to trigger it. Yeah, I called it next level. Shout out for dual core, you know. So you go to the folder or let it just the one folder up. It scans through because of the preview stuff. And suddenly you get an email message. And basically it says somebody scanned you. So if you're using these, you're probably going to want to nest it down a little bit so somebody had to really work to get to it, or an automated scan so somebody doesn't accidentally bump into one of these. You can also do a Word doc. That's kind of fun because you can then add whatever you want into the Word document. And then if you place that Word document inside one of the folders, you really know that somebody was looking because now they've very actively hunted, found a folder, and went to a file they shouldn't that's in it. Yeah, I guess that was, okay. So notes, you can rename all the files, kind of nice, makes it a little bit more unique in what you can do with them. You can edit the files, which is kind of fun. I actually have embedded one of the email, they have an email token too, so I added an email, so if somebody sends an email to the email that was generated that I put inside one of the files, you kind of know they were really snooping because otherwise they would be trying to email, you know, to join a list. Then I mentioned that the preview mode tends to get things scanned and trigger it. It does seem to go through DNS. I haven't had a lot of time to look through it. And with that, I guess, canarytokens.org launches you to the generate page. Canary Tools is Thinks Canary, their main homepage where you can actually buy their pre-built honeypots. And they're a sponsor of the Risky Business podcast, which is a really good podcast if you haven't listened to it. I think he's actually speaking on this week's episode, so it's probably pretty good timing. Any questions?
Okay.
Yeah.
What about if the file is copied
So yeah, you can copy the files and place them in other places, and they work just fine. The problem is if you're going to do copying and things like that, A, you fill up a mailbox really fast because while you're playing with it, you're in the directory or you're opening things. But you've also then changed where it is so your note that you made for that particular token is somewhere else now. So you'll have trouble figuring out if you make one that's like payroll, and you put it in the payroll directory. Now you make a payroll token, but you put it in the developers directory area. You're not going to know which fired necessarily. So here, if you look, it says it gives you it gets out through DNS and it gives you a source IP. Depending on where it is, it may not give you the best IP address, and it may not be 100% accurate, and it may just be the DNS server, depending on how things are routed in your environment and how it got out or was able to find. Yeah?
So, was I hearing you correct? Does it use DNS as its method of communication outbound?
I think it does. That's basically what it was saying. I haven't had a lot of time to play with this, and it's just been kind of something to be playing with. And they have a bunch of different choices too. But yeah, I think there are other ones because there's a web bug you can set up and some other options there. So they have and I think they've said actually in the podcast if you pay money or something, you get lots of more options and choices. But this is free, and free is good.
Go back a slide.
To the very end one? The one with all the links?
No, the one with the blacked out IP address.
The what?
Time.
Yeah, the time is today 22:48. Yeah, I did that during the last talk.
22:48 should be like, what, 10 o'clock at night?
Maybe it's in UTC.
Okay.
No, actually, that would be 4 or 5 hours off. I don't know. I'm just going to say that I have no idea. Anybody else? That's it.